That looks about good. All right. So, how's everybody doing? Hope you're all doing well. This is our next class, right? Before I get into any new material, I wanted to ask, does anybody have any questions, any problems you guys would like to go over, or anything you'd like to see done? Any questions at all? Anybody? Okay. I'm gonna give it another, let's say another 4 minutes. Just for anybody walking in. If you guys have any questions from the homework, go ahead. You could drop them. All right, we could take a look at that. What operation are you like is troubling you with the fractions? Is it like adding, subtracting? Is it simplifying them? I'm sorry. Say one more time. I'm not sure if you said it. I think I didn't hear it. Adina, adding and subtracting. All right, so let's take a look. Let's take a look. Do you have a question in particular, or you want me to just come up with something? By the way, want to apologize to everybody. I feel a slight cold coming on right now, so my voice might not sound so great right now. Got you. All right, so let's try a different way. Let's try a different way, right? I had mentioned this way before, but let's try it out. Let's try it out. I have another way of doing it, right? Let's say I'm making up something now. All right. Let's say I have like 3/10, and I want to add that to 7/20. All right. Okay. This is a little bit different from the way that we did it yesterday, right? Another yesterday, excuse me, last time we had class, right? Another way that we could do this, right, is we can find a common denominator instead of finding the least common denominator. So to find a common denominator, right, you just multiply what's there on each side, right? So for example, right, I'm gonna multiply this 10 by 20. But what I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. And then vice versa, right? That 10, I'm gonna multiply over here. So I'm gonna multiply this 20 by 10. What I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. Right? So now let's look at what happens, right? Now I have 3 times 20 plus 7 times 10 over 10 times 20, which is what, 200. Do the math on this. 60 plus 70 divided by 200. And then I think this is what, 120, 130 over 200. But see, here's the drawback to doing it this way, right? You have to reduce the answer that you get, right? So I know that 10 goes into 130 13 times. Let me just illustrate that. And I know that 10 goes into 20, excuse me, goes into 220 times. Let me illustrate that. Now the tens are common, so these would cross out. So my final answer is just 13 over 20. So that's another way that you can actually do this process, right? Find a common denominator instead of finding the least common denominator. I I personally think it's better to find a least common denominator, right? Because your final answer is just going to be the answer, you know? But if you go about it this way that I just showed you, you have to reduce it at the end. And that's it. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right. Try it out on your homework. Like it'll be fun in the homework. And also, I don't know if I said this in class, there's no penalty for trying a question for homework. So you can try something and get it wrong, no penalty. All I care about you doing is you get 100 on the homework. That's all. So just keep doing it until you get the answer right. That's all I'm asking for. You're welcome. Anybody else? Any other questions? I want to remind everybody that you guys can use a calculator, so you guys should go out and get the calculator. This is the TI 36X Pro. That's the one I recommend that everybody gets. Um, Last announcement, I attached the formula sheet slash cheat sheet so you guys can take a look at it. If you like, you can download it and you can print it out. No problem. Um, I think the sheet is good. It explains a lot. Something that I would recommend if you guys print it out, don't take your pen and cross out any formula there, right? The formulas on the formula sheet, we're not gonna learn all of them in this class, right? But you will learn the rest of them in the next class, you know? So just to kind of I don't want you to cross out next class's formulas and then it's like you don't have the sheet to help you in the next class. You know what I'm saying? So what I would recommend is if you have like a highlighter, maybe highlight the ones that we're going over in this class, and then that'll help you to like on your test, for example, if you're rushing, you know, you can just look at the highlighted parts instead of the whole page. Just a suggestion to you guys. Also, if you're looking at the sheet, let me see if I can pull up the sheet real quick and just show you guys something like where exactly are we on the sheet. I'm going to show you that right now. right? So this is our formula sheet here. Specifically where we are, where it says arithmetic operations right here. This is what we're learning so far, right? So pretty much all of this we've done, right? There are some variations here that might look a little funky, but trust me, you know how to do it already. This is just a generalization. Okay, so this is what we've covered so far. Right? Just to show you guys. All right, let me just check the chat one more time. Questions? All right. So then let's get into today's lesson. All right. But before we get into it, I want to just start things off with a little blast from the past. All right. So I have this question here. Can somebody tell me how to do this? I want to simplify this question. Or even if you don't know what to do, tell me what you think you're gonna do. What do we think? What do we think? I'm gonna get my rainbow color for this. So what do we think? What do we think we gotta do here to simplify this? Exactly, right? So I want to distribute, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I want to distribute the 3/2 to everybody over here, right? So let's take a look. I have 3/2 times the 12x plus 3/2 times the 20. Now remember the 12x and the 20, those are whole numbers, right? So I could write those over 1. And then now it's real simple, right? Just multiply straight across and that's it. Right? So 3 times 12x will give me what? So that'll give me 36. Whoops, sorry. That'll give me 36x over 2 times 1, which is 2, plus 3 times 20, what's that? 60 over 2. And then we could divide the 2 individually. 36 divided by 2, what's that, like 18? And then 60 divided by 2, I think, is just 30. Right? So this would be my final answer. Questions on this? Any questions on this? Nope. All right, so let's move on. I have another blast from the past I want to go over. So in this question over here, I want to simplify again. All right. All right, so go ahead, simplify that for me. Tell me what you're gonna do. Alright. Let's take a look, right? First thing I wanna do, remember PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. So here's my multiplication. I'm gonna distribute that -2 over there. So now I have what? 5 minus 2n minus 2. Combine like terms, 5 minus 2 is just 3, so I have -2n plus 3. All right, any questions on this?
No, Buki.
Any questions at all? All right, we're just doing a little blast on the past right now, just a little blast on the past. All right, this was last class right here. Somebody tell me what's the LCD
24.
or type it, but
24.
24, good. Very good, right? And then just to recap real quick, we know that 6 is 2 times 3. And we know 4 is 2 times 2. Take one of them for the LCD. Let's say we do the 2 times 3. We already have 1 2, but we don't have 2 2s. Put them together, right? So when we put them together, what do we get? 2 times 3, what's that? 6. 6 times 2 is what? 12. So that's my LCD, right? You can do a common denominator whenever you want to add or subtract them, right? It's just easier, in my opinion, to do the LCD. That's all. Any questions? Any questions at all? Oops. After the distribution, in the previous question, right? Because I'm taking the -2. I'm taking this, oh, whoops, sorry, hold on. Just make sure I'm writing, okay. I'm taking the -2 and that's what I'm distributing over here. So -2 times n is -2n, and -2 times +1 is -2. And then you just combine like terms. So that's what's happening in that question. Is that clear? Okay. Awesome. All right, so let's look at what we're looking at today, right? As usual, your homework has been posted in case anybody feels like they noticed already and they want to just jump ahead and do the homework, no problem. All right. So we're gonna solve linear equations using a general strategy. So solving an equation, right, is like discovering the answer to a puzzle. The purpose in solving an equation is to find the value or values of the variable that makes it a true statement. Any value of the variable that makes the equation true is called a solution to the equation. It is the answer to the puzzle, right? And I apologize. I feel like I have like a little colds coming on. Anyway, solutions of an equation. A solution of an equation is a value of a variable that makes a true statement when substituted into the equation.
Problem already.
Getting to let's see. All right, there are many types of equations that we will learn to solve. In this section, we'll focus on linear equations, right? So we got to remember that word linear equations. Let's take a look at what a linear equation is. Right? So linear equation, right? A linear equation is an equation in one variable that can be written where a and b are real numbers and a does not equal 0, right? So it looks like ax plus b equals 0. That's a linear equation. Another observation we could make is that the power that's on top of the x is 1, right? You see, it's not a 2, it's not a 3. That's a clear giveaway that this is going to be a linear equation. All right. To solve a linear equation, it is a good idea to have an overall strategy that we can use to solve any linear equation. In the next example, we will give the steps of a general strategy for solving any linear equation. Simplify each side of the equation as much as possible. First makes the rest of the steps easier. So let's take a look at this question. So I want to solve 7 times n minus 3 minus 8 is equal to negative 15. Long story short, right? I'm here trying to solve for n. I want to solve for the variable. So I'm going to push all the other numbers that are around the variable n, in this case, to the other side of the equation, right? So I have 7 times n minus 3 minus 8 is equal to negative 15. My first step, I'm going to get rid of this negative 8 by adding 8 to it. But what I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. And then now, what do I have left over? I have 7 times n minus 3 is equal to, what's negative 15 plus 8? So it's negative 7, right? After that, I want to get rid of this 7 that's being multiplied by the n minus 3. Because remember, I'm trying to solve for n over here. But what I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other side of the equation. So now I have what? N minus 3 is equal to negative 7 divided by 7 is what? What do you get when you divide anything by itself? What number?
One.
1, right? So this is gonna be -1. Now, after that, I wanna solve for n, so I'm gonna add 3 over here, but what I do to one side, I do to the other. So now what's my final answer? N is equal to -1 plus 3 is 2. Questions on this? Any questions? Please don't be shy. You get it? That's cool. All right. There's no questions, then you guys try. So go ahead, give that a try. Alright, so I got an answer of two. Let's verify, let's verify. Alright, remember, the goal here is, I wanna solve for m. So I'm gonna subtract three from over here. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm gonna subtract three from over here. What to do one side of the equation, I must do to the other. So now I have two times m minus four is equal to -4. And then now I wanna divide by this two here to get rid of it. What I do to one side of the equation must do to the other. So now I have m minus 4 is equal to -2. After that, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I do the one side, do to the other. And then I'm going to have m is equal to 2. Yep, positive 2. Questions by anybody? Any questions? If there's no questions, can I move on, or do you guys want to see another question like this? Your choice. Another? No problem. No problem, no problem. All right, here's another problem. Try that out. This time we got A's in this Alright, how did we do? Alright, so let's take a look real quick. So in this situation, I wanna solve for A, right? So I'm gonna push all the numbers onto one side and I'm gonna leave A by itself. First thing I'm gonna do is subtract this 5. And what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. So now I get 5 times A minus 3 is equal to -15. After that, I wanna divide by this 5 right here. What I do to one side, I gotta do to the other. This leaves me with A minus 3 is equal to -3, basically. Then I want to add 3 over here. What I do to one side, do to the other. So I have A is equal to 0. Questions on that? Any questions? All right, so let's keep it moving. Before we continue, I know you guys might want to actually see the steps written out, so here you go. This would be the part where you take your notes and everything. So how to solve linear equations using the general strategy. Step 1, simplify each side of the equation as much as possible. Use a distributive property to remove any parentheses. Combine like terms. Step 2, collect all the variable terms on one side of the equation. Use the addition or subtraction property of equality. Step 3, collect all the constant terms on the other side of the equation. Use the addition or subtraction property of equality. Step 4, make the coefficient of the variable term equal to 1, and then use the multiplication or division property of equality. Excuse me. All right. Next, state the solution to the equation. In step 5, check the solution. Substitute the solution to the original equation to make sure the result is a true statement. All right. I'm not checking these, even though the instructions tell us to do so, because you're always going to get the right answer when you solve for it. So there's like no point to checking the answer in this particular topic. Other topics, yes, but in this particular topic, no. Questions on this? All right, if there's no more questions, we'll give you guys 2 minutes to try one using the rules. Alright, I'm sorry for that delay. As I told you guys earlier, I feel like this cold is coming on, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm straight every time I talk to you guys. I don't want to like cough in your ear or anything like that. Okay. So long story short, I have this equation here and I want to solve for m, right? I want to solve for m. So what my goal here is I want all my m's on one side, all my numbers on the other. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to distribute is 2 over 3. And then let's look at what happens. So I'm going to have 2 over 3 times 3m minus 6 times 2 over 3 is equal to 5 minus m, right? Now remember, whenever you have an integer, a whole number, whatever, you can always write it over 1 to help you do the multiplication. We multiply straight across. 2 times 3m is going to give me a 6m over 3 minus 6 times 2, that's going to give me a 12 over 3 is equal to 5 minus m, right? Next, what I want to do, let me reduce this a little bit just to make the math a little bit easier. 6m divided by 3 will give me a 2m. Bring down that minus sign. 12 divided by 3, I believe, is 4, right? Yep. And then this is going to equal the 5 minus m. Now, again, my goal is I want to get all my m's on one side. I want to get all my numbers on the other, right? So let's start with the m's. I'm going to add m over here because I kind of like my variables to be on the left-hand side. It's just a preference for me, but you're welcome to do whatever you want to do. You could have subtracted the 2m on the other side as well first. Anyway, 2m plus 1m, right, is going to give me 3m minus 4 is equal to 5. I'm going to add 4 over here. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now I have 3m is equal to 9. And then I want to divide by 3 to get m by itself. But when I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the other side of the equation. So now I have m is equal to positive 3. And that's it. That's how we do this. Is there any questions on this one? It's the original right here. Any questions from anybody? All right, well, if there's no questions, then let me let you guys try one for yourselves. Nothing crazy or hard, just something that you could do just to know that you got this down packed, you know? Go ahead, try that out real quick. Give y'all a couple minutes for that. Yeah, so just try this question out for yourself. I'll admit today I was on campus for the club hours. I didn't see anything interesting going on, no music or anything. So those of you that are still at home, you guys are winning. You didn't miss anything today. Now, last class, I remember talking to you guys about the pantry and the art resource center and filling out that form to go get the groceries. So I found out that pantry is not this week, it's actually next week. Yeah, so I don't remember if I said that in class. I feel like I just found that information out and I wanted to share it with you guys. No problem, no problem. All the classes are recorded, so you can just go on and watch the recording and just catch up on the homework. No worries. You're welcome. By the way, if I owe any of you an email response, I'll admit I haven't checked my email today. Please just give me a little bit of time. I have tutoring right after class today, so I'm not getting off until late tonight. So just please allow me a little bit of time. Like if I don't get back to you tonight, probably tomorrow. Okay, so we're just trying this problem out. All right, let's take a look. So what I want to do, I want to distribute this onto every term. That's my first thing I have to do. So I'm going to have 1/3 times 6u plus 3 times 1/3 is equal to 7 minus u. Okay. Now remember, if you have a whole number here, you can write the whole numbers over 1, like so. Multiply straight across. 1 times 6u is 6u. Over 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 3 times 1 is 3. Over 1 times 3 is 3, which is equal to 7 minus u. Let's simplify this just for easy math to make our lives a little bit easier. 6 divided by 3, I believe, is 2u, plus 3 divided by 3 is 1, is equal to 7 minus u. Now remember, my goal is I want to get all my u's on one side and all my numbers on the other. I personally like my variables on the left, but if you want to do it on the right, that's fine. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add this u over here. And what I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other side of the equation. Right? So now I have 3u plus 1 is equal to 7. And then now I want to subtract 1 from over here. What I do to one side, do to the other. So now I have 3u is equal to 6. After that, I want to divide by 3 on both sides. So I do to one side, do to the other. So u is equal to 2. And this is my final answer. Questions, anybody? Any questions on this, please? All right. No questions? All right. So can I move on or do we need to see another example? I can move on. No questions. Everybody's good. All right. So let's move on then. All right. Special note real quick. All right. So we can solve equations by getting all the variable terms to either side of the equal sign. By collecting the variable terms on the side where the coefficient of the variable is larger, we avoid working with some negatives. This will be a good strategy when we solve inequalities later in this chapter. It is also helpful for us to prevent errors with negatives. Okay. So long story short, I don't like negatives, not even in my bank account, right? So that being said, we try to avoid the negatives. All right, so let's take a look. It's a heck of a question. 4 times x minus 1 minus 2 is equal to 5 times 2x plus 3 plus 6. Yikes, right? So here's what we're going to do here. First thing we're going to do, let's distribute that 4 to everybody, right? Same thing with the 5. Let's distribute that to everybody. Now what's going to happen? 4 times x is 4x. Minus 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 2 is equal to 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 3 plus 15 plus 6. Right? Let's combine like terms just to make our life a little bit easier. So this is going to become 4x minus 6 is equal to 10x plus 21. Right? Now, here's what I'm saying. I want to put all my x's on one side and get all my numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 4x from here because 4x is the smaller number, right? With a variable. And what you do to one side, you know you have to do to the other. So now I have negative 6 is equal to 6x plus 21. After that, I want all my numbers on the other side. So I'm going to subtract 21 from over here. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now this is what, -27, 7, yep, is equal to 6x, right? And then after that, we just want to divide by 6, get x by itself. What we do to one side, do to the other. Let's reduce this a little bit. This should be what? -9 times 3 over 2 times 3. Threes will cancel. So I should have final answer -9 over 2 is equal to x. All right. Questions, anybody? Did that make sense? This was clear. It made sense. Awesome. All right, let me let you guys try one real quick before we move on. I'm gonna try this out real quick. Do it the same way. All right, let's take a look. So I have 6 times p minus 3 minus 7 is equal to 5 times 4p plus 3 minus 12. I want to solve for p. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute these numbers over. Now let's look what we have. 6 times p, 6p, minus 6 times 3, which is, I think, 18, minus 7 is equal to 20p plus 15 minus 12. I'm just distributing the 5 and writing down the missing number. Let's combine like terms. Excuse me. So now I have 6p minus, what's that? 25 is equal to 20p plus 3. Now again, I want to get all my p's on one side, all my everything else on the other. So I'm going to subtract p from over here. And then I want to get negative 25 is equal to 14p plus 3. Let's continue solving for p. I'm going to subtract 3 from over here. What I do to one side, do to the other. So now I have negative 28 is equal to 14p. After this, I want to divide by 14, get p by itself. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now p is equal to negative 2. Questions on that from anybody? That was a lot. Any questions? Don't be shy. It's okay to ask questions. All right. If there's no questions, anybody want to see another, or you guys feel like you get it? Another one? All right, let's go. All right, try this out. All right, take another minute. All right, let's take a look. So in this question, I have 8 times q plus 1 minus 5, excuse me, is equal to 3 times 2q minus 4 minus 1. So I want to solve for q. So the first thing I'm going to distribute this 8 to every term, distribute the 3 to every term in the parentheses, and let's multiply it out. 8 times q, 8q, plus 1 times 8 is 8, minus 5 is equal to 3 times 2q is 6q, minus 3 times 4 is 12, minus 1. Now let's combine like terms to make our lives a little bit easier. So I have 8q plus 8 minus 5, what's that, 3, is equal to 6q minus 13, right? Now I want to move the smallest variable term to the other side, right? Because I want to avoid negative. So I'm going to subtract 6q. What I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the other side of the equation, right? So now what do I have? 8 minus 6, what's that? 2q plus 3 is equal to negative 13. After that, I'm going to subtract negative, excuse me, I'm going to subtract 3 from positive 3. And what I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now I have 2q is equal to negative 16. After that, I want to divide by 2. What I do to one side, do to the other. So I have q is equal to negative 8. And that's my final answer. Questions on this? Everybody got it? It's making sense? All right. Let's keep it moving then. So I have another example here that I want to go through with you guys. We're just kind of picking it up a little bit. All right, so this example is gonna really force us to use our PEMDAS a little bit, right? So I have 10 times 3 minus 8 times 2s minus 5 is equal to 15 times 40 minus 5s, all right? First thing I want to do inside the brackets, right? I'm going to distribute that negative 8. Distribute that negative 8. So now I have 10 times 3. Negative 8 times 2 is minus 16s. Negative 8 times negative 5 is going to be a positive 40. And that's going to be equal to, let's distribute that 15 also. 15 times 40, oh gosh, what is that? Is it about 600? I believe. Let me check that real quick. Let me verify. Yep, that's 600, right? Minus 15 times 5, what's that? 15 and 15 is 30. That's 60. So about 75s. Okay. Let's combine like terms to make our lives a little bit easier. So I'm going to have 10 times negative 16s plus 43 is equal to 600 minus 75s. Now I want to distribute this 10 onto every term. So I have negative 160s plus 430 is equal to 600 minus 75s. Now again, I want to get all my s's on one side, or the variables on one side, get all my numbers on the other. So I'm going to add 75s over here. I'll do to one side, do to the other. This is going to be an example of what happens if I don't move the smaller term over, right? So now, what am I going to have? I'm going to have negative. Let's subtract these. This becomes 5, 10. So this is 5, 0. This is 15. So that is what? Negative 85s plus 430 is equal to 600, right? Now I'm going to subtract the 430, get that on one side. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now I have negative 85s is equal to, what's this? I think that's about 170, right? Seems about right. Then I want to divide by the negative 85 to get x by itself. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. Divide by negative 85. So s is equal to, right? So you start this off simple. Positive divided by negative is negative, right? I have 170 and 85. We could divide it by 5. Start off simple, right? So I'm just going to save time. 170 divided by 5 is 34. And 85 divided by 5 is 17. But I noticed something, right? 17 goes into 34, right? So this would just become what? Negative, what's that, 2 over 1? Call our final answer just negative 2. Questions on it?
I saw you made new friends. You posted it there.
Where? All right. Any questions on this? Make sense? A little bit harder, but still relevant. Same topic that we're doing. All right. I'll let you guys try one real quick. Try that out. Remember, the goal here is I want you to solve for y. Take a look at this. So again, right? I want to simplify what's inside the brackets first before, right? Doing what's on the outside. So I'm going to distribute this -2 right here. It's the first thing I'm going to do. So now I have 6, open bracket 4, minus 14y plus 2 bracket is equal to, and we could even distribute this 8 over here. Not gonna lie to you, I don't know what 13 times 8 is, so let's figure that out. So 13 times 8, what is that? 104 minus 64y, right? So that's my first step. Next, I want to combine like terms just to make life a little bit simpler. So I'm going to have 6, open bracket, -14y plus 6 is equal to 104 minus 64y, right? Now I want to distribute the 6 onto every term, and then everything will be as simple as possible right there. So let's take a look. 6 times 14, what's that? So I'm going to have a -84y plus 6 times 6 is 36 is equal to 104 minus 64y, right? After this, let's add the 84y over here. But what I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other side of the equation. I'm adding the 84 because I'm trying to avoid the negatives. So now I have 36 is equal to 104 plus, right? What's this going to be? Let's subtract this. That's 0. That's 2y, right? So plus 20y. After that, I'm going to subtract this 104. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So 36 minus 104 is going to give me a negative. What is that going to be? Being a little bit lazy. 104 minus 36. Let's take a look at what that is. That's 68. So negative 68 is equal to 20y. After that, we want to divide by 20 to get y by itself. What you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other, right? So now we have y is equal to negative 68 over 20. But I feel like we could do better than that, right? We could reduce this a little bit. So this could be reduced. Let's divide it by 2, right? If I take 2 out, this would become 34 over 10. I feel like I could take the 2 out again, right? Cut this in half. What's that? 15, 16, that's 17 over 5. Don't forget the negative, right? So then that'll be my answer right there, negative 17 over 5. Questions on that? Everybody got that answer? No problem? All right. Let's see. No questions? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, can we move on, or do we want to see another question like this? And just for your information, this question right here is very, very hard. It will not, I repeat, it will not be on your homework. You do have questions similar on your homework, but not with so many steps. Okay? Not with so many steps. All right, real quick. I'm gonna put up a little blast from the past real quick. I'm gonna let you guys work on this really quick. I just have to take a quick drink of water. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right, so let's take a look at this little blast from the past. I have 2 times x plus 3, and I want to know what does this equal when x is equal to 5, right? Long story short, remember we did this for homework, right? Everywhere we have a variable, I'm going to put a parentheses. In this case, I'm going to use brackets because there's already parentheses here. And I'm just going to plug in a number. So boom, there you go, right? So now I have 2 times 5 plus 3. Let's make our life a little bit simpler. 5 plus 3, let's add that up. I think that's about, what, 8? So this becomes 2 times 8. And 2 times 8, we know, is just simply 16. All right? Nothing new here. Nothing new here. Just little blast from our first class together. Let's take a look at another question real quick. A little bit harder, but not impossible, right? So we want to evaluate 1/2 b times h, right? 1/2 b times h, when b is equal to 14 and h is equal to 9. So we have the 1/2 right here, right? I'm going to multiply that by some number b, and I'm multiply that by some number h, right? B is 14, H is 9. Now you remember whenever I'm multiplying the whole numbers, right? I can rewrite them over 1, right? Just like so. And then you just multiply straight across, nice and simple, right? So 14 times 9, what's that? I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know what that is. Let's take a look. 14 times 9, that's 126. Divided by 2 times 1 is just 2. Simple, right? We could reduce this a little bit. We could do a little bit better. So 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 126, I think about 63 times, right? So our final answer should be 63. And that's it. Is there any questions on this? We all remember how to do this, right? We're just plugging in numbers. That's all we're doing. This is clear? No questions on this? All right, let's keep it moving then. Let's keep it moving. All right. So the next thing that we want to talk about, this is going to be really, really fun. Really, really fun. Right? This is for all my science majors in the room. All my science majors in the room right here. This is for you. And the business majors too as well. Right? We can't hog all the fun. So we're going to solve a formula for a specific variable. So we have all probably worked with some geometric formulas in our study of mathematics. Formulas are used in many fields. It is important to recognize formulas and be able to manipulate them easily. It is often helpful to solve a formula for a specific variable. If you need to put a formula in a spreadsheet, it is not unusual to have to solve it for a specific variable first. We isolate the variable on one side of the equal sign with a coefficient of 1, and all the other variables and constants are on the other side of the equal sign. Geometric formulas often need to be solved for another variable too. The formula V is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h is often used to find the volume of a right circular cone when given the radius of the base and the height. In the next example, we will solve this formula for the height, right? This is fun stuff now. And it's real simple too, Let's take a look. Real simple. So I have this formula right here, right? Oh Lord, what's going on here? Let's try it again. Perfect. All right. So we have volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h, and we want to solve for h, right? So let me write that out. Volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h, right? Now, I want to point something out to everybody. I'm going to point this out using a dot. In between each one of these variables, we know is multiplication, right? We know this is multiplication. I'm going to solve this entire equation in one step, in one simple step. Real simple, right? What do I want for this question? I want h, right? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for h. I'm going to divide everything by all the variables that are not h. So what's not h? 1/3 is not h. Pi is not h. R squared is not h. And I'm just gonna cancel those out. But wait. You remember what I said before, right? When we do the one side of the equation, we have to do it to the other side of the equation, right? So I'm gonna divide all of that by v. 1/3 pi r squared, right? Literally, that's it. I'm done with the question, right? So I have h is equal to v over 1/3 pi r squared. You don't need to keep putting the dot. I'm just putting it there to overemphasize that it's multiplication. Now, let's talk about something real quick. Your homework is going to have questions where they're going to ask you to solve for a variable, but they're going to ask for you to isolate the numerator and denominator, and you're going to type those in individually by itself, right? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? So there'll be like a blank box here, right? There'll be the line in the middle to indicate, like, you know, the fraction line, and then there's going to be another blank box here. And what you have to do is you have to fill in the blank boxes, right? The top blank box is your numerator, the bottom blank box is your denominator, right? That being said, right, you cannot just put v over 1/3 pi r squared and call it a day. We have to simplify it even further, right? We got to simplify it even further. Why? Because the computer is special, right? The computer is special. That being said, 1/3 times pi r squared, we know is going to be what? V over pi r squared divided by 3, right? Now, that v kind of looks like a whole number, right? Yes, it does. It looks like a whole number. So this v could be like v over 1 divided by pi r squared over 3. And you already know, how do we divide fractions, right? Keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep the numerator, change that division to multiplication. I'm going to use a dot multiplication because we have variables in this. And you're going to flip the denominator. This is going to be 3 over pi r squared. That being said, multiply straight across. I'm going to have 3v divided by pi r squared. So now, if this was a homework question, right, and I had to enter it in two separate boxes, a numerator box and a denominator box, my numerator would be 3v, and my denominator would be pi r squared, right? And if you're wondering how to write pi in WebWork, pi is just simply pi, right? That's all it is, right? And then R is just, you know, letter R on your keyboard. But to raise it to the second power, you're going to do the caret. The caret is shift and the number 6 on a regular keyboard, and I think command and the number 6 on a Mac, and then 2. That's it. Right? Any questions on this? Any questions? We just solving for a variable here. Nothing fancy. No math involved. We're just moving around letters and making it appropriate. Mm-hmm. All right. There's no questions about this. Let me give you guys a question for you guys to try. All right. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it simple. Nothing overly complicated. Your homework is simple as well. All right. So we have A is equal to 1/2 B times H, and you want to solve for B. Very simply, you want to solve for B. Alright, sorry about that, was doing a little attendance real quick. Let's take a look at this, right? Nice and simple, nice and simple. This is A is equal to 1/2 B times H, right? I'm gonna put a dot right there just to indicate multiplication. Now, in the question, they told us that they want us to solve for B, right? Solve for B. So what am I gonna do? Very simply, I'm gonna divide by everything that's not B, right? So this is the 1/2 and the H, right? These will cancel out. But you know what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. So I'm gonna divide this by the 1/2 and the H, just like that, right? Now, technically, you know, we're done, right? But for WebWorks sakes, right, you know that we can't enter in our answers like this, right? We have to simplify it down. So to simplify this down, that H is a whole number. Put that over 1, multiply it out. This is going to be A over H over 2. And then you already know the A is the same thing. It's going to be like over 1 divided by H over 2. So keep change flip. This will become A over 1 times 2 over H, right? So we're going to change the division sign of multiplication, flip the denominator, multiply straight across. Final answer, 2A divided by H, right? So again, if this was web work and you had a split answer, right? A split answer, like so, your numerator would be just 2A, your denominator would be just H. You enter it in just like that, click submit, that's it, full credit, it's the end of the question. Nice and simple, nice and simple. All right. Let's do another formula. So in the sciences, right, we often need to change temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius or vice versa. If you travel in a foreign country, you may want to change the Celsius temperature to the more familiar Fahrenheit temperature, right? So here's the formula for Celsius to Fahrenheit. I'm going to show you guys. Right? Nice and simple, nice and simple. So C for Celsius is equal to 5 over 9 times F for Fahrenheit minus 32, right? Now, in this question, what do we want to do? We want to solve for F. Very simple. So I have C is equal to 5 over 9 times the Fahrenheit minus 32. All you have to do, right, because you know that this 5 over 9 is being multiplied by those two terms right there, right? Just divide by the 5 over 9. But you got to be fair. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to divide the Celsius by 5 over 9, right? Now you already know that's a whole number C, right? So I'm going to put C over 1 divided by 5 over 9 is equal to F minus 32. Now you already know keep change flip, right? So I'm going to keep the numerator, C over 1. I'm going to change it to multiplication, flip the bottom, 9 over 5 is equal to F minus 32. Multiply straight across, I'm going to have 9C over 5 is equal to F minus 32. All you have to do is just add 32 over here. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And that's it, we're done. This is 9C, or matter of fact, 9 over 5. Hold up. Oh boy, hold on 1 second. Little frozen here, little frozen, 1 second. All right, 9 over 5C. 1 second, oh. Give me 1 second real quick, we're Little technical difficulties. A little bit of an overload over here. My apologies, everybody. 1 second, 1 second. Excel got overloaded a little bit. I'm gonna bring it back. 1 second, sorry about that. All right, everything's looking good. So I have 9/5, oops. 9/5C, hold on. Okay, 9/5C plus 32 is equal to F, right? Now, I would accept this answer fully, but if you're in one of those situations on WebWork where they're telling you like, oh, we want it in a split fraction kind of form, what is a numerator, what is a denominator? Remember that this 32 is over 1, right? So that being said, in order to add these together, I would have to have the same denominator. Our LCD would be 5. What we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So what would the top be? 9C plus, let's look at what 32 times 5 is. I'm not sure what that is. 160 divided by 5 is equal to F. So if this was one of those situations where you had to do a split answer, right? Your numerator would be 9C plus 160, and your denominator would be 5. By the way, I know that I'm not that creative. To those of you that have this exact same question for homework, I'm gonna apologize in advance. You know, like I didn't mean to do your homework for you, but it's really hard to come up with these equations. All right. Sorry for that. All right. That being said, I'm gonna let you guys try this one right here. Nothing crazy. Nice and doable. All right, let's take a look at this. All right. So a little bit of a reverse. I have f is equal to 9/5c plus 32, and we want to solve for c, right? So f is equal to 9/5c plus 32. We're trying to solve for c, right? So I'm going to subtract 32 from over here. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So now I have f minus 32 is equal to 9/5c. After that, to get c by itself, I'm going to divide by 9/5. And you know what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation, right? So what's my final answer? We have the, what, keep change flip. This would be 5/9 times the f minus 32 is equal to c. Questions on that? And then again, if you have to do the split the split answer, excuse me, on WebWork, you would just distribute this out, numerator, top part, denominator, bottom part, and that's it. Any questions on that? All right, if there's no more questions on that, let's take it up a notch, right? This next formula that I'm going to show you is the surface area of a right triangle. The surface area of a right triangle, right? Bam. Excuse me. Right cylinder. Sorry. The surface area of a right cylinder, right? So long story short, those of you who might be into mechanical engineering and stuff, you know, when they're talking about like PVC pipe and stuff like that for your fluids to go through, this is your formula right here, you know? Sorry about that. So long story short, formula is surface area S is equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And what do we want to solve for? We want to solve for h. Oh, this is going to be real simple, real simple, real simple, real simple, right? I'm going to isolate the h. I want h by itself, and I want everything else on the other side. So I have S is equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h, right? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to subtract 2 pi r squared on the right-hand side, but you know what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation, right? So subtract 2 pi, yep, r squared, yep, just trying to verify, good. So I have S minus 2 pi r squared is equal to 2 pi r h. You already know what's going to happen here, right? I'm going to divide by everything, right? That's not h. So I'm going to divide by 2 pi r. But what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. Divide by 2 pi r. And that's it. If this was a WebWork question, everything is already in its split form. S minus 2 pi r squared over 2 pi r, right? That would be your answer. All you'd have to do is just put that in the top box and put this bottom one in the bottom box, and that'll be it. Questions on that? No questions on that? All right, let's take a look at another question, right? Another area question. Take a look. So A is equal to P plus PRT, and you want to solve for T. All right. Give y'all a second to try that out. Just to let you all know, when class ends today, I will be going online to tutoring. So if anybody wants to join me for any help, if you want help with your homework or anything, please, you're more than welcome to join me online. All right, you can make the appointment on WC online. Because I have to jump onto tutoring immediately after we finish, I may not get the announcement out to you in a timely fashion. So if the announcement is a little bit late tonight, just understand that that's the reason why. It's also the reason why I might not be getting back to your emails tonight as well. So just letting you guys know. But everything will be handled, promise. Those of you who might be in the library listening in, tutoring is open. It's open till 8 o'clock tonight if you want to go in person. Once again, that's in CPH room 303. CPH room 303. All of the information for that is in the old announcement. So let's say like the announcement from Tuesday. You guys can check it out. Remember to fill out that ARC form to get your groceries for next week. All right. The grocery pickup is on Wednesday and Thursday, just letting y'all know. And you can also take a look at some of the other services that they have, right? Me personally, I take advantage of their free tax preparation. That's how I do my taxes every year. All right, let's take a look at this, right? So I have A is equal to P plus PRT, right? And I want to solve for T, right? I want to solve for T. So I'm going to subtract P from over here. Now, what I do to one side, you know I have to do to the other. So now I have A minus P is equal to PRT, right? And then I want to solve for T. So what am I going to do? Divide by everything that's not T. So I'm going to divide by PR, right? And what you do to one side, you do to the other, PR. So that's my final answer. I'm done. So T is equal to A minus P over PR. And again, you know, if you were typing this into WebWork, this would be your numerator, this would be your denominator. That's it. All right. This next example is pretty much the same thing, but I want you guys to get used to this, right? Especially when you get into pre-calculus and calculus 1 and stuff, you might be given an equation in a form such as this. 8x plus 7y is equal to 15, and they're going to ask you specifically solve for y. All right, solve for y. So watch how I do this, right? This is 8x plus 7y is equal to 15, right? I want to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 8x from over here. What I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation, right? So what do I have now? 7y is equal to negative 8x plus 15. And then after that, what do? I'm going to divide by 7 to get y by itself, right? Now, you know what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation, right? So I'm going to divide everything by 7. You can also just put everything on like one giant line and put it under 7, but sometimes it's easier to just kind of break them up like this to give you negative 8 over 7x plus 15 over 7, right? This right here, some of you might remember it as the equation of a line, where the number that's in front of the x, that coefficient would be your slope, and the number that is by itself, right, would be your y-intercept. So there you go. Let me let you guys try one of these real quick for yourselves. Different numbers, but the same idea. Solve for y for me. Again, homework 2 has been posted. You guys can go in and knock that out. If you need help, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, tutoring is open today, tutoring is open tomorrow, tutoring is open Saturday. So however you like to receive tutoring, if it's in person, please come, you're more than welcome. CPH room 303. If it's online, make the appointment online, and then they're gonna email you the confirmation email. Inside the confirmation email will be the link for online tutoring. You can join and get all the help that you need. Alright, let's take a look, right? So I have 4x plus 7y is equal to 9, right? And I want to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 4x from over here. What I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other side of the equation, right? So now I have 7y is equal to negative 4x plus 9, right? Then I want to divide by 7. And what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. Just like that. So now what do I have? Y is equal to negative 4 over 7x plus 9 over 7. And that will be my final answer. Is there any questions at all? Anything? Is there anything that anybody doesn't understand? Do you guys need to see another question, or could we wrap up and call it a day right now? No questions? All right, so we could call that for class today a little bit early. Again, homework is posted. Please do your best to stay on top, right? It's not that hard, and if you need help, please don't hesitate to ask, all right? I'm here, other tutors are here if my schedule doesn't work with yours, all right? We can get through this, all right? All y'all have to do is just meet me halfway and I'll meet y'all halfway. All right? Have a great weekend. All right, and I'll see you guys all on Tuesday. All right, it was great last Tuesday seeing everybody in person. You know, I look forward to that next week Tuesday, and we'll also reconvene back here on Thursday as well. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Please allow me a little bit of extra time today to do the announcement with the recording and everything, because as I said, I'm jumping straight into tutoring right now, so I may not have time to post everything immediately, but I will post it, I promise. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend as well. All right. All right. If that's it, I'm gonna stop the class. See you all soon. Have a great weekend.